Good afternoon. I'm Abby Meyer. I'm a project and grant management consultant working with the Department of Human Services on Michigan's identity verification and authentication pilot. And it's not advancing. There we go. As a quick refresher, the Department of Human Services, or DHS, is Michigan's the Department of Human Services, or DHS, is Michigan's public assistance, child and family welfare agency. The agency's mission is to improve the quality of life within the state by providing services to vulnerable children and adults that strengthen the community and enable individuals and families to move towards independence. The Department of Human Services is centrally administered and provides services through a network of local offices in 83 counties around the state. As of August 2014, the state's unduplicated count of public assistance recipients was close to 2.5 million people, which means that roughly 1 in 3 Michigan citizens is receiving one or more public benefit from DHS. In an effort to address growing caseloads and overwhelming foot traffic in local offices, DHS launched an online application for public benefits in 2012. This application, known as MyBridges, is designed to give recipients anytime, anywhere access to apply for DHS programs and to check the status of their cases, to reduce the amount of time that DHS staff spends answering phone calls, and to reduce the number of recipient visits to local offices. Since its launch, use of MyBridges has grown steadily. Data for the first half of September shows an average of 7,000 applications for online benefits submitted each day. In October of 2013, Michigan was one of 2 states that was awarded funding by NIST to pilot an online identity management solution for accessing government services that embrace and enhance the NSTIC vision. Michigan's pilot focuses on mitigating risks for the Department of Human Services and Michigan citizens using the MyBridges online application. Today we're demonstrating our pilot solution for you, and my colleague is going to walk you through the demo next.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Brown, and I work for the state of Michigan. Currently, the MyBridges application has a number of different pages in which you have to go through prior to submitting your application for DHS. I have staged the application to a point to where it takes the user information and we submit it off to our vendor LexisNexis for identity proofing and instant verification. This is a demo site, and when we submit that information over to LexisNexis, we don't receive valid information back. So this is just the information that was given. During the application process, we ask for a name, address, county of origin, and gender. Once the information is submitted, at that point, we require the user to go ahead and electronically sign the application, and then that gets submitted over to DHS for an eligibility worker to process. Well, you get the point. Now, because it is a demo, it's going to get submitted and it's going to be a valid transaction. Once this does go into production, we can go ahead and, based upon the set of questions that the user has to answer, they will be given a score, but it's not a score that will be shown to the user. It's only going to be a back-end score that the eligibility worker will be able to see. So can we switch back over to the slides? Thanks. Okay, so for our business process changes, like I said, once the user's gone through the application process, another app gets sent over to the DHS eligibility worker, and it looks like this. Now, based upon this form, there was a new value that was added, and it was in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And it's only going to have two values. It's either going to be a 1 that the user or the applicant passed the verification form, or a 2 that they did not pass the identity proofing invalidation. If there is a 2 on the application, then at that point, the eligibility worker will have to go out there and manually identity proof the user and ensure that they are the ones that are supposed to receive those benefits. Now, DHS has started analyzing high-risk transactions within the MyBridges application. The team initially thought the high-risk transactions was originating from household composition or income. So when a user logs in and they need to change anything as far as those two, would require some kind of multi-factor authentication. However, after we sat back and started analyzing a lot of the different things that are in that application, we realized that Check My Benefits, which has a substantial amount of personally identifiable information, is also being able to be viewed from a web page. So at that point, we decided that that would also be required to have multi-factor authentication. Now, at the end of September, we're going to be having a multi-factor expert from LexisNexis come to the state of Michigan and review our application and determine where else adding MFA into the application would be appropriate. During the last plenary, Abby and I had worked with our MPO reps to come up with a high-level workflow of how we would get multi-factor authentication put into our app. So when a user logs into the MyBridges application and the user wants to update their profile, at that point there's logic that's built in that looks to see if a telephone number or an email address was entered into the app. If there was not an email or a telephone number, it would kick the user out, require them to go through identity proofing once again. Once they pass that, they would then be able to add in their email address and phone number. Then a MFA message would be sent out of band either to an email address or an SMS text message to a phone. And then once they were accepted, then those records would get updated into the database. At no point in time will those records get updated into the database until that user has been validated through MFA. So our accomplishments to date: we have completed the majority of the development, at least from our development site. The demo you just saw demonstrates our connectivity and our responses coming back from LexisNexis. Once we've been cleared with some of the outstanding federal agencies, we can start to move forward with our quality assurance testing and our usability testing. And we will continue to work with our vendor LexisNexis for implementing multi-factor authentication within the MyBridges app.
Okay, in terms of outreach materials, We've designed and printed informational posters that will be distributed to all DHS field staff and to a wide variety of community partners. Training materials have been developed and will be provided to DHS field staff. And we've continued to work with our pilot's third-party evaluator, the Research Triangle Institute, to develop baseline metrics and a survey model to explore users' knowledge, attitudes, and beliefs about the identity solution. Here we have a glimpse at the poster that we'll be distributing. And our pilot is ongoing, but we have learned some important things along the way. The first is to anticipate delays and changes. The complexity of this project and the fact that it's uncharted territory for us makes planning and meeting certain milestones challenging. This is compounded by the fact that DHS administers many different federal programs, each with unique laws and regulations. Navigating and accounting for program nuances can impact project timelines. Next, use delays to keep learning. Our team has used downtime to continue to analyze, learn, and push forward on the parts of the project that we can. The MFA component that Jason touched on is a great example. Developing an MFA solution in a social services agency is particularly challenging because many of our clients are transient and they don't necessarily have access to smart devices, computers, cell phones, or even home phones. So while another area of our project is delayed for reasons that we can't control, the MFA component is going to benefit from the additional time that we're able to spend researching this piece. And lastly, stay optimistic and ask for help. Our pilot's fortunate to have a good group of people who are very motivated and dedicated to moving forward. And this has been key in navigating the starts and stops of our project. But over the past year, we've received a tremendous amount of support from the National Program Office, from other pilots, and also from members of the IDESG community. Those who've gone before us have been very available to us, always willing to take a phone call and to brainstorm, and we truly appreciate that. So in closing, here's contact information for our team. Obviously, Jason and I are here, and we anticipate that during the Q&A portion, at the conclusion, that Kathy and Sanjay and a few other members of our MyBridges team are available to help us answer any questions that you might have.